Today, we're going to break down the anatomy of a real disaster. So back in October 2023, a powerful storm slammed into the small English village of Duffield, and what followed was a truly devastating flood. But this isn't just a local news story. It's actually a perfect case study in how extreme weather can completely overwhelm a community, and more importantly, what we can all learn from it.
Okay, so let's get right into it. To really get a handle on the impact, we first have to see exactly what went down when Storm Babette rolled in. For the people who live in Duffield, the River Ecclesbourne is just part of the scenery. It's usually this peaceful, gentle landmark. But during Storm Babette, it completely transformed. It swelled way beyond its banks and turned from a quiet neighbor into this destructive intruder that just poured into homes, schools, and roads. And we're not talking about some abstract threat here. The floodwaters hit very specific, really vital parts of the town. We're talking about residential streets like Ecclesbourne Drive and Duffield's Bank, where water just inundated people's homes. It completely shut down education at two major schools and even closed the A6, which is a critical highway for the entire region.
So that's the what. But what about the how? How did this happen? Let's break down the science behind it, because this was really a perfect storm of different factors all coming together at exactly the wrong moment.
Everything, and I mean everything, started with this number, 130 millimeters. In just 48 hours, some parts of the area got hit with that much rain. To put that into perspective, that is a huge amount of water falling in a really short period of time. It was the trigger for everything that came next.
Now, this is a really key concept: saturated overland flow. It sounds a bit technical, but the idea is simple. Think about the ground like a kitchen sponge. At first, it soaks up water, no problem. But once that sponge is completely full, totally saturated, any new water you pour on just runs right off the top. Well, that's exactly what happened. The ground around Duffield had hit its absolute limit. There was just nowhere else for the rain to go but sideways, straight into the river. So you can see this wasn't just a sudden event. It was a chain reaction. Step 1, you get that prolonged, intense rain. Step 2, the soil becomes that totally saturated sponge. Step 3, all that runoff water pours into the River Ecclesbourne, way faster than the river can handle it. And then finally, Step 4, the river breaks its banks, and the town floods. It's a devastatingly simple 4-step process. Once the water finally went down, what it left behind was so much more than just soaked carpets and ruined walls. So let's take a look at the deep environmental scars that a flood like this can leave on the landscape itself. The damage to the local ecosystem was just layered. The fast-moving water literally stripped away valuable topsoil from gardens and parks. All that soil and debris then got dumped into the river, clogging it up, which could actually make future floods even worse. And at the same time, the runoff washed all sorts of pollutants, like oil from roads, directly into the water. The sheer force of it all just destroyed the habitats for countless small animals and insects. Of course, the environmental damage is just one part of the story. The toll on people's lives, their homes, their finances, their sense of security was absolutely immense. Just look at these numbers. The estimated cost to fix a single flooded home was anywhere from £20,000 to £50,000. And with water reaching up to 2 feet high inside some properties, you can just imagine the scale of the destruction. Across the entire village, the total cost almost certainly ran into the millions. And the impact just rippled out from there, affecting the whole community. Dozens of families had to be evacuated. Schools and local businesses were forced to shut their doors. Major roads were impassable. But beyond all that immediate chaos, there's the long-term emotional damage, the stress, the anxiety, and that constant nagging worry that this could all happen again. Now, it's really tempting to look at something like this and think, well, that was just a freak accident, a one-off. But it really wasn't. In a lot of ways, a flood like this was the predictable, almost inevitable result of a collision between the natural landscape and human development. And this right here illustrates that collision perfectly. On one side, you have the physical factors, right? The geography. Duffield is in a valley with steep slopes that act like a natural funnel, just directing water right down towards the river. Add in that saturated soil we talked about, and you've got the perfect setup for rapid runoff. Then, on the other side, you have the human factors. We built homes, schools, and roads right on the low-lying floodplain, dramatically increasing the community's exposure when, not if, the river rises.
So, when you boil it all down, what happened in this one English village is really a microcosm of a challenge that communities are facing all over the world. As our weather patterns get more and more extreme, the way we manage the relationship between our natural landscapes and our built environments is becoming more critical than ever before. And all of this leaves us with a pretty fundamental question. As we continue to build in these vulnerable places, we really have to ask ourselves, when nature and development inevitably collide, who is it that really pays the price?